Hello everyone, I'm here with Roberta Williams, creator of Colossal Cave 3D, and you are a longtime veteran of the games industry.
Yes.
As someone who has seen a lot, local too, right? Because Sierra Online is a
Seattle
company that's been around here.
Yep, and we're in Seattle right now.
Yep. Where did you find Colossal Cave?
Well, Colossal Cave is an old, historic, iconic text adventure game from back in the mid-70s, and it is, it used to be, it's text. I mean, it is text, not used to be. I mean, you could still download it and play it.
Yep.
And I played it back in 1980, and when I was in my early 20s, and loved it, got into it, and never seen anything like it.
Because it just fills you into it puts you into a world.
It puts you in a world. It's an interactive story. It's what you call an adventure game.
In the 1970s, that's a novel idea.
Yes.
To be at your computer and then suddenly be in a world.
Yes.
And then that gets built out into, MUDs were a big thing at the time. And so how did you go about putting the idea together to translate a text adventure into a bigger 3D game now, when it's been almost, 45 years?
Something like that,
since
or 40 years.
Colossal Cave?
Since, now it's been around. I mean, it's still there. It's still on the internet. You can, there's a lot of copies of it.
Yep.
And a lot of people over the years have taken this game and added to it.
Yeah.
Yes. Like Zork. You've heard of Zork?
Yep.
I mean, that is really Colossal Cave. I mean, it is. It's
calling them out. Taking that steez from Colossal Cave.
Well, no, they added to it.
Yeah.
They changed things. They changed some things and stuff. But when you really look at it, it's pretty much Colossal Cave.
Right.
And Zork is a great game.
Yep.
But so is Colossal Cave. It's a great design.
And this was just something that really you connected with.
I connected with it, and it started my career. Because when I finished it, I wanted to play more games like it.
Yep.
There weren't any. There weren't any games like it.
And that's what brings us into King's Quest.
Well, it starts with Mystery House.
It does.
But after when I discovered there weren't any others like it, I don't know. I just had this compulsion to sit down and do my own. It was like I had to. I was compelled to.
That's so wonderful.
I don't know why, but I just wrote my own game. I wrote it out. I did kind of a mixture of the board game Clue and an Agatha Christie novel, and put it together. It turned out to be Mystery House. He's a programmer. We did it together. We added graphics to it. It was the first computer game on the Apple II with graphics.
Wow.
With graphics.
That's a huge step forward for the entire industry.
Yeah, they were terrible graphics, but
no,
they were
but it was
graphics.
important.
Yeah, and that started that, and then of course that moved to King's Quest and all kinds of. I mean, I wrote like 20 games. And over time, I worked with Disney. I worked with Jim Henson and the Muppets. For the Dark Crystal and Black Cauldron and all kinds of stuff.
So I'm fascinated by this idea that you're compelled to take stories and turn them into an imaginative world that you can see and interact with. And then jumping from what you do with King's Quest and games like that to something as big and involved as Colossal Cave, how did you come up with, wanting to build a 3D game out of a text adventure?
I don't know. Ken wanted a project. It was during the lockdowns, and it was late 2020, or maybe it was early 21. I don't remember. Probably early 21.
Yeah.
And he needed a project, and we weren't traveling or going anywhere or doing anything, and for some reason, Colossal Cave popped into my head. And I don't know, it was like when I was compelled to sit down and write my own game, and it just happened. It was just one of those things. It popping into my head was just surprising. And I noticed these things, you know.
And then you kept cycling on it, and
I mentioned it to Ken, and before I know it, he was calling Don Woods, one of the original designers, because it was written by Will Crowther and Don Woods.
Yep.
And he originally by Will Crowther, but then a little later, Don Woods came in and expanded it. And just he was talking to him and said, you know, we didn't know who had the rights to it or what we should do about that or anything, and we wanted to know if we could do it and add graphics to it. And he
getting
said,
the rights to Colossal Cave.
And he said yes. He said you can absolutely do that. He said as long as you know we don't claim it for ourselves and keep other people from doing it. And we said, well, yeah, sure. I mean, it's fine.
And he knew that your idea for this was to, you know, lovingly recreate the text, because when we were demoing it, there were definitely rooms that you could see, you could tell what text built that room.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I took the text. And wherever the text was for wherever you were, I looked at their original writing, and we tried our best to create that room.
Because in a way, you're kind of reverse engineering the original game, right?
Well, I don't know about that. It's just reimagining it. I mean, that's a good description, is to take something like that and reimagine it. But the way I think of it is, when I played it, like a book. When you read a book, you're imagining it in your head. If they're a good writer, you're seeing what in your mind's eye what they're trying to tell you. And so when I was playing it a long time ago, I was seeing it in my mind's eye. And so when I'm trying to reimagine it for 3D, you know, graphics, virtual reality, I was wanting to recreate it in the way that it would be, I imagined it to be in everybody's mind's eye as much as I could.
Yes.
You know,
you're imagining the...
Of course, it's my mind's eye, but you know.
Right.
I think, well, that's part of what I do is when you get your art, you know, your art and your game is you try to make the world as fun and for other people. It's not, you know, it's what you want to. I mean, you have to love it yourself. If you don't love it yourself, you're not going to do a good job.
Yep.
And so every game I ever did, it was always something that I knew I would play it myself. And so that was always my philosophy. If I wanted to do it,
oh my God, that's beautiful.
Good. So, and
that's what makes art.
And I know I loved Colossal Cave.
Yep.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think fascinates me is you're translating text into, you know, a real life space where players are actually having to orient the entire thing in a first-person perspective.
Yes.
Has that changed your approach to like building puzzles? Because a lot of those puzzles are, you know, some of the first of their kind in a way.
Yeah, trying to figure out how to do that has been part of the problem. Not problem, no, that's not a problem.
But it's
part of the
design challenge, right?
Figuring it out as to how do I, because remember, the original Colossal Cave was, you could type in.
Yes, it's a text parser.
It was text parser.
And you have to take a text parser and fit it into just a couple of buttons.
Yes, basically, yeah, and try to. But I've had some experience with that in the past, so I was probably the perfect person to do that, to try to do this.
Right.
And
but you've pared it down even farther, because in the 80s and 90s, when you had a bunch of objectives and like verbs you want to do, you'd have a bank, right? You'd have a bank of options and like things that you can play with, pick up, move.
You mean like with a parser?
With a parser, or with a visual like a UI.
Right, the icons, whatever. Point and click.
And now the modern versions to keep it very sleek and simple. And so you've actually managed to do that with Colossal Cave, where you only have one point of interaction and you use that to cycle cycle through
Yes.
all of the different options.
Yeah, right.
And that's very clever and cool.
Well, it was really the only way to do it. But like I said, I mean, I'm sort of used to that. I mean, our first games that Ken and I did were also using a parser.
Yes.
And more than what Colossal Cave was, we expanded the parser idea. And I remember doing it, and with our parser, you had the main thing that you wanted to do. And at first we were 1 and 2 words too, but then we expanded, to longer sentences and adjectives if we wanted to, and things like that. But I noticed as time went on that, like my parents, I had my parents as sort of examples to look at.
Oh,
I would
smart.
say to my mom, I'd say, Mom, you've got to sit down and play my game,
Right.
And so I'd sit her like at my computer and my keyboard's there, because it was with a parser.
Yep.
And I go, okay, Mom, you want to play? Here you are, in front of, the castle or whatever, and what do you want to do? And she goes, I don't know. And I said, well, why don't you try open door? Oh, open door. And then I go, see, Mom, the door open.
Yes.
And then she say, well, okay, now what do I do? And I say, I don't know. You could go in the door. Well, how do I do that? And I would say, oh, go door. And then she, and I would watch her. But when I went away, I'd say, okay, Mom, I'm going to walk away, and I want to see if you can do this without me standing here and telling you what to type in. She couldn't. And she's not stupid,
No, it's just there's an abstraction.
And she just, it was just understanding that idea of doing that. And I noticed that. And I noticed also with other people who didn't know what to type in and exactly how to do that. And they do now because of search, on Google and all that. People have figured it out now, but not then. And so I said to Ken, no more parser games. We have to figure out how to play these games without typing in.
Yep.
And that's where the idea of the icons, where you have an eye, a hand, a little figure walking or running, or inventory object, or whatever else.
It came from wanting to make a game that your mom could play.
Yes.
Wow.
But not her specifically, but everybody.
Accessibility is what you're talking about.
And still make it feel the same.
Wow. Yeah.
Without losing what they are, and the ability to do just as difficult things, if that's what it was, or solve puzzles or whatever. I had to figure out how to do that. So I have a little bit of experience with figuring out how to take something bigger and more complex, keep it what it is, but make it easier to communicate with. So I have some experience with that.
Yes, you do, yeah.
But this was a challenge.
I figure.
This one was a big challenge to figure out how to do that.
Wow, yeah. I could ask so many questions, but what's going on with Colossal Cave 3D? Is it coming out sometime soon?
Well, we're working hard.
You are working hard. You only started this a year ago or so.
About a year ago. Yeah. It's we're trying for the end of October, but it's probably going to drift over into November.
Oh, but that's still imminent. That's still that's so soon.
It's pretty imminent, yeah.
Coming out for VR. You're prepping the Switch version.
Switch version, yeah. Those are for
and that's a cool, having it on VR and having it on Switch at least tells me, as someone who works in games, that you're looking towards old school fans and you're trying to find new.
Absolutely.
You're inspiring a new generation.
You got it right. That's exactly right.
It's a cool place
so
to be.
we're trying to get both,
Yeah.
So the old school fans who are there, and I said to Ken, I said, well, we're going to sell to them.
Yep.
I mean, there's no doubt. But what we also want is to introduce to younger, newer players the concept of an adventure game.
Yes.
Because I think it's been lost. And I mean, they're still out there. I'm not saying they're not, but they're not the big games, and I think they're misunderstood to a certain extent.
for me at least, it's like there's a magical sense of mystery and like being dropped into a cave and not being told what to do, and,
Right.
like having you be expected to like
Figure it out.
and
That's
try some
right.
stuff out and get killed.
Yeah.
And that being a part of the experience
Yeah.
of like learning your world around you
Yeah.
is, that's important. That's the Zizzy in a way, right?
Zizzy, that's Zizzy and Blue, and Clover and all that. I mean, we've got all of that, and it's not an easy game. I mean,
No.
But
No.
it's interesting because it can be fairly easy if all you want to do is really go through and look at the pretty graphics and see some of the characters, and pick up some objects, and if that's really all, and you're happy with just doing that, you can do that.
Yeah.
But if
Yep.
you really are looking at the scoring, you can get 350 points. That's if you can do that, it's a completely different game. You play it completely. It's got so much strategy to it. I mean, I forgot. We have the original Fortran source
Yeah.
that they used. And so, I mean, we have gone over that so many times. I mean, I've learned Fortran just, looking at their source.
That's amazing.
To try to figure out what were they doing, why, and a lot of the little tricky things about this game that you could go to walkthroughs and try to find the answer to why is it really doing this or not? Is it? And you couldn't find it in walkthroughs. You have to go through the Fortran,
The source code directly.
and you have to read it, and it could be this little obscure little line there, and you go, there it is.
And that's one point
There's
attached
the
to that.
answer. Yeah.
Oh.
And so we are being very, very dedicated and true to the original 350 point game.
That's so amazing.
That was important to me.
I just think that's really cool. There's nothing else like this that's
No.
happening in games right now.
No, and a lot of
Not that there could be, because it's still a young medium.
companies out there are getting kind of excited about it, actually. Yeah.
It's just a part of, this is natural to happen in any medium, but with, 1970s still being, yesterday practically, it's, this is all brand new. And so you're cutting edge even further in a completely new direction by looking back in a way.
Looking back, but bringing it forward. Yeah, in a way that the sensibilities of today would respond to it.
That's so exciting. That's really cool.
Trying.
No one else is doing this. So
Maybe they will now.
They better.
They might.
Thank you for blazing the trails.
Oh, you're welcome. And Ken is there, standing there.
Hi, Ken.
You want to talk to him for a bit, or?
I mean, you've done such an incredible job. I am like out of questions. She's incredibly thorough.
I am
the best of the best.
Well, yeah, I've actually been doing a lot of interviewing lately on this game, so I kind of know, all that. What is this?
You do.
Oh, water.
A little
Careful.
water.
Oh,
Little agua.
thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, I'm getting a little used to it now.
My feelings are crushed.
Well,
Oh.
I'm sorry. Well, you went away. If you had not gone away, but you
You
did.
can ask one question. It can only be yes or no.
Okay.
I can't get his phone.
But you don't have the.
Oh,
Oh, here.
I need to hear the yes or the no.
Putting it there for the.
Oh, here, take that off.
Okay.
All right. This is my Family Feud question for the Williams family.
Okay.
One question. Okay. I can do this. What is your favorite adventure game object?
Yes.
That's bold.
No, it would be X, Y, and Z, Z, Y, of course.
XYZY.
Actually, that was the big debate at the beginning
What's the debate
of this
about
game. We weren't sure how to do magic spells, and I said just do them as inventory items. And then she said, "Well, are you going to drop them on the ground like every
Right.
other inventory? Can you pick them up?" And we sorted it all out.
Yeah, we sorted it out.
What's the implementation of that? Because magic is such a big part of
It is a big part of it, and especially that one's crossed over to being a cultural phenomenon. I mean,
It is.
It's really.
Xizzy is the whole thing.
I never knew how it was pronounced. It was funny. We put it
I
in
made it up. I don't know.
Translation software or text-to-speech.
Yep.
They came out and said Zizzy. And I thought, well, that sounds fine to me. 'Cause
Sure.
I always said XYZZY, but
That's
anyway,
valid too.
Yeah.
That,
How did we figure out doing it?
huh?
How does it work?
How does
it work?
XYZZY work?
Okay, how do you get
Oh,
it?
well, I don't want to give away all the puzzles, but you find a rock, you look at it or you touch it, and it gives you the magic spell, and
In your inventory.
and you do it, and it takes you magical places. And
Oh, so you kind
I
of
can't tell you though, I don't know where.
got your design wishes then if you use it like in the inventory. Oh, he's not explaining
I
it
know.
right.
Well,
He's not explaining.
He's not explaining it right.
Now, if you ask and it bits and bytes, then I know. Or if I'm Mr. Techie, and I'm techie, money, marketing.
Yep.
I'm the one that pays the
All
bills.
the hats.
Actually, it's just like our house. I pay the bills and she spends the money.
Well,
It's
someone's
called
gotta.
division of labor.
Yes.
That was pretty strong.
Come on. Boo.
Yeah.
No, actually, I spend more money, I think, because I get the electronic toys.
Yep. You get the toys.
He is a spender.
Yeah.
He's trying to throw you under the bus.
Nope.
No.
Unless any other questions, I want to thank you. And, I gave you a lot more than a yes.
Yes, you
and I'm
did.
happy to answer anything you want, anytime. So.
Thank you. No, this was incredible. It's when I